welcome back to another episode of the MVP Fantasy Football and Sports Podcast. My name is Tyler Johnson, and with me as always is Ryan Elke. Ryan, I know that just before this podcast we were talking about a dynasty startup draft, and we are hard feet to the pavement starting our own draft that we're going to be talking about more next week. And it's very exciting to have this brand new dynasty league, the MVP. I think we're going to call it the MVP Fantasy Football Dynasty League, and we're excited for our friends to join. And tell us a little bit about what you're talking about in the rules, what goes into it. What's a preview for next week that we can talk about?
We're gonna go over. So we're both pretty new to this. I've listened to it. I've done research on it, but I've never actually played it. And now this is my chance. This is my calling because I love this stuff. Like, even with sports video games, I'm a franchise player. I don't do the head-to-head online type stuff. I'm just a huge franchise guy. I love building my teams, and this is right up my alley. So I know that we had talked about in a couple weeks that we're going to get the draft going. So that's very exciting. And next week we're just going to go over all the different options that you can do in a dynasty league. You can literally cater to your league however you want. There's that many options to go about. Like, between literally anything, you can go any which way. Roster positions, all that. There's even like leagues that you can do salary cap, which I thought were awesome. But with us just starting up a league, we're going to try to keep it as simplistic as possible. Not for us, because I think we would be able to handle any of it. I mean, I'm pretty confident in that. But some of our other guys, the true new guys to all this, I think
it's going to be a steep learning curve.
Yeah, that's what it is. So you don't want people leaving.
You hear a ton of people.
Too difficult.
You hear a ton of people talk about dynasty drafts, and every year that goes by, and you keep doing re-ups and keeper leagues, and I think it's something where you hear it, and it's just like, how do I get involved? So I think we're excited. Next week, we're going to dive deeper. We just started making the rules. We have a co-commissioner with us, three of us, putting together the rules.
Constitution almost done. That's what it's called, man. It's a constitution. It legit is.
And next week, we'll go through it in detail. We'll talk about what we're doing for this startup. And then anybody that's interested, make sure you tune in next week for our Dynasty podcast. We're just going to kind of break it down and kind of the learning pains and the growing pains that we have going through this. We want to make sure we reach that out to everybody. And if somebody else wants to do it in the future, they can listen to that podcast and kind of understand our decisions, how we went about it. And then we'll kind of, as we do this Dynasty League year over year, we're going to keep this podcast side by side with it. And the more we do Dynasty, the more we'll be able to help everybody else out with their Dynasty League. So next week's going to be exciting. I'm excited just listening to the guys and talking about the constitution of rules that we have for our dynasty, and it's just going to be exciting. It's just another league, another different league. I do have the startups and the keepers, so this dynasty is just going to add to that. So
see, Tyler, so my thing is, I've never been in a keeper league either, because I wanted to and stuff like that, but I've literally never been in a keeper league. I've given plenty of advice about keeper league, and I know what I would do if I had to, but keeper league or dynasty, I feel like you just go for it all. Dynasty or redraft, do both. The keeper league, in my opinion, it's like,
it's in
why
the middle.
Do a keeper league? It's in the middle, but I sway towards the big boy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and
I want the dynasty.
And the keeper league is like a dynasty team, except you only keep part of it. So I think that's more of a segue into dynasty. That if you started doing a keeper and you enjoy it, but you want to dive a little bit deeper into what a keeper league could do, that gets you closer and closer to a dynasty league.
I guess it's an opener to it. It can get your feet wet a little bit.
And it keeps it fresh, just like how redrafts are. It keeps it fresh each year, but having a dynasty is also another way of thinking of keeping it fresh, because you're actually the manager of that team that is just like an NFL team. You kind of sitting there and you're watching your players develop and you're making moves. So
the thing is, though, every decision you make will affect your team for years to come, unlike redraft. And don't get me wrong, redraft will never go away. I'll always play redraft. I'm just super excited about Dynasty, but making a move in a redraft and what can happen from that move is not that big of a deal, because if you really bomb the trade, guess what? You get the redraft next year. Now, if you bomb the trade in a dynasty league, that's going to affect you for years to come.
Exactly. So I can't wait to talk more about our dynasty, and I know that we have a packed episode today. We're going to go over just a few little news, a little bit of hype coming from the news this week. Mostly wide receivers. I think it's all wide receivers, and then we're going to jump into a frequently asked questions. Some questions that you may have. What our thoughts are on, kind of just to give you a little bit of a hint here. We got questions like what scoring system should be used, what fab or waiver system should be used, and then we're going to say playoff rules and vetoing trades. That's kind of the things we're going to hit this week. We're going to briefly touch on it, and then in the future, we're going to have almost full episodes on each of these just to break down even further what you can do. And it's more or less for a newer person listening, and maybe even a veteran that doesn't know much. They just constantly been the commissioner of their league, and they need listen to someone to let them know what our thoughts are, and maybe that changes
ideas
their league.
And stuff like that. There's nothing wrong with listening to ideas and seeing what you can do to better your league.
And I know me and Ryan have been having fun with the mock drafts, so we may just squeeze in a quick one at the end. Just do another position and not do as much talking as we've done before, because a lot of people know where our mindset is. But we'll just
what we can do is we can do the mock. Obviously, you want to mock as much as possible. We've hit on that last week. But last week we went in depth on what our decisions were.
Yeah.
This week we're not going to really do that.
Yeah, we'll just kind of let you know who we're drafting and maybe a quick thought.
Is.
So
maybe we'll talk about there's a couple guys available. I'm not sure who to pick. Kind of give a brief summary and go with whoever. But we're not going to be in depth on the player profiles.
Perfect. Well, let's jump into news. Let's jump into kind of our 3 hype news. And right now we have the new contract extension where the New Orleans Saints are talking about making Michael Thomas the highest paid wide receiver in the league. What do you think about that? We got Michael Thomas going to be turning 26 this upcoming year. And, I mean, a young guy, he's going to be reaching his prime here soon. And we have already seen an excellent wide receiver, a top 5 wide receiver. What do you think about this extension? What does it do for the team, and what does it do for him as a player and a fantasy asset?
So my thing is there anything anything in the way for him not to deserve it? Do you have anything? I just think that he's the next guy up. You know how the market goes. It's the next guy up. If you are close to that elite guy, you are going to set the market again. So I feel like he's in the perfect position to do it. And this is the year to do it, because Drew Brees may leave after this season. So get your money now, because you don't know how he will drop off once Brees leaves.
Exactly.
He's an elite talent for sure. But I think it's his time. He deserves it. He's a dog, man. He goes out there every week and plays through injuries. He's getting 10-plus targets a game. He's getting hit. He deserves it. He's a main cog to that team. So.
And, I mean, my goodness, last year his catch percentage was at 85%.
Ridiculous.
He had the most insane targets to receptions. And looking at that team going into next year, they really didn't, besides Jared Cook, I mean, who did they add? You're going to have Kamara, who's going to obviously be around that 100 targets, which is going to be fantastic.
I feel like Murray
Tre'Quan
offsets
Smith.
Ingram in the backfield, so it's not like anything's a downgrade.
Yeah, exactly. So you have Cook and Tre'Quan Smith and Kamara, and I don't see either Tre'Quan Smith bumping up his targets.
Not too much. He's going to go up a little bit, but
he'll be around that 50 range. And I mean, Ben Watson last year was close to 50 targets. I can see Jared Cook maybe getting above 50 and being a better tight end than what we think. But Michael Thomas is still there as a lock and loaded, I would say top 5. I mean, barring any sort of injury, I think he's a lock at top 5, and you need to draft him as such. So
no, it's like not even arguable. I think so. You hit it on the head there.
Okay,
he's top 5 for sure.
I just wanted to touch on the highest paid wide receivers. I have them up right here. So Odell Beckham Jr. just got the top spot right now for the Browns at $18 million, and this is average salary per year. I'm just going to run through probably the top 5 here. So we got Raiders when they signed Antonio Brown, he's 16.7. Mike Evans from the Buccaneers, 16.5. You have DeAndre Hopkins, the best wide receiver in the league. He's making 16.2. And then to tie him, surprisingly, the Rams paid Brandon Cooks 16.2. So he's definitely, if he's pushed above 18 million average.
See, Brandon Cooks, it was just right place, right time.
Yeah,
he's not. I don't think he's worthy of that contract. He's too inconsistent. I mean, good player for sure, but he was just right place, right time when he got that deal.
All right, you want to hear two other people that might not be worthy of their contracts? Now I'm looking at it. The Chiefs are playing Sammy Watkins at the 7 spot, 16 million.
Oh yeah, he got paid a ridiculous amount.
And the Browns are paying Jarvis Landry 15.1, and he's at the 8.
See, Jarvis Landry, I think that's.
I know you like him. I know you like him, but
I will have the Chiefs back on the Watkins one. I think it was only a 3-year deal, so they got this year and then one more year. I'm pretty sure probably the 3rd year there's not much guaranteed money attached, so they could probably cut him after this season and get out from under that contract if he doesn't produce. But yeah, he's overpaid either way for his production.
All right, and then we'll make this next one a quick one. We're looking at hype between Dante Moncrief, who they say is the slam dunk number 2, and then just to pair that up, we also have the Packers' new offense is catering to Marquez Valdez-Scantling, who is also going to be the number 2. So we have 2 number 2s that are going to be probably me and Ryan sleeper picks. Everyone was scared that Dante Moncrief, I mean, he's had some bad seasons, but you have to look at the teams that he was on. I mean, India's no joke, a great passing team, but they weren't passing it to the wide receivers. It was like a tight end heavy, and then you had T.Y. Hilton. So looking at Pittsburgh, they used their top guys. I mean, you had Antonio Brown last year, 168 targets, and then Juju Smith-Schuster at 166. You look at Indianapolis, their highest guy was T.Y. Hilton at 120, and then Eric Ebron at 110. So that just gives you an idea of how many vacated targets there are in Pittsburgh and why we're so high on Dante Moncrief.
The thing, Moncrief though, pretty sure he played with Jacksonville last year, and he got some numbers. But you're talking about when he did play. So what derailed him though in Indianapolis is his injuries. Man, his first year was great. Second year he started off great, then he got hurt. The next year he got hurt, and they were just in a predicament where he was 25 at the time, but they couldn't pay the guy on an open market deal. Like I don't know how much he got, but I'm probably guessing it was around $7-8 million. And they couldn't just shell out that kind of money to keep him around. So they're kind of in no man's land. Moncrief was a good receiver. He's a good deep ball guy, and he'll fit very well with Pittsburgh in that sense.
And I'm excited for him to be on Pittsburgh because James Washington really isn't that phenomenal number 2 wide receiver. And I think
pretty sure he graded out as the worst receiver in the league last year, as I remember reading.
Yeah, I remember listening to that too. So Dante Moncrief stays healthy. I mean, he's going to be like that surprise pick. I kind of would like to describe him as like Sammy Watkins on the Chiefs. You have like a really high tempo offense, and you kind of have this guy who's been in the league, been injured, been hyped up, and I've kind of thrown away that last year in Jacksonville because that's just a poor situation for possibly a really good talent. I mean, you can't take it away from Moncrief he came into the league as a rookie with great talent. I forgot what his grade was, but he was supposed to be big things. He got injured. He had one good year in 2015, but he's never been above 1,000 yards, and he's only been above 100 targets in that 2015 season. So it'll be exciting to see. And then let's talk about MVS. We're big Packers fans. I know Ryan loves Packers over the Lions, right, Ryan?
False, but I still am a Packers fan because it's my hometown. So hometown team. MVS. So I think this guy's going to be great. He already has a rapport with Aaron Rodgers, second-year guy. He knows what is expected of him. Last year, maybe not so much. Too much pressure and injuries happened and whatnot. He's ready. He's ready to go, and he's a guy to keep an eye on. His ADP right now, I know, is way low. Like, this guy is going to be shooting up the charts. Yeah. I think potentially this guy, he's going to be getting – I'll call it right now. He's going to be a single-digit round guy. His ADP will by the time like mid-August or like late August comes when you should be doing your drafts.
And I think that Moncrief is also going to creep up the same as MVS.
Oh, he's going to shoot up. I think what is he at right now? 9 or 10. I could see him going 7th, 8th round.
Yep, I was going to say
8th round probably for both. 8th round in a 12-man.
And you look at the Packers. I mean, they have St. Brown. We're not too worried about him. Geronimo Allison was actually the pickup that I thought it was last year, and coming into this next year, MVS, as having a rapport with Aaron Rodgers now, he could be very sneaky. You think about how Randall Cobb was such a good pickup earlier in his career when he was with Aaron Rodgers, that if MVS can sneak in behind Devontae Adams and pick up some of them receptions, Jimmy Graham Jimmy Graham with 89 targets last year. I feel like that's going down, and it's only going to bump MVS up. I hope he pushes up more to the 100 targets this year, and I think it's possible.
I think the sky's the limit for MVS. It's just a guy everyone should have on their list of sleepers for sure. Like, it's just no doubt. This guy has so much potential.
And if they keep talking about how they are here about a month later, 2 months later, I mean, they're going to be up in the single digits, right around 6 or 7. I could see that pretty easily. So, I mean, and I'll still take a look. I mean, I'm not saying to write him off because, like Ryan said, MVS, he's pretty high on MVS. He could be a solid, what would you say, top 25?
Oh, that's fair. I think you could get in that territory. But don't sleep on Geronimo Allison, because him and Aaron Rodgers also have a good rapport with each other, and he's nothing spectacular, but he made some good plays last year. I think if he stays healthy, MVS and Allison are both going to be fantasy relevant guys. It's just if Allison is there, I think it hurts MVS a little bit, but I think MVS has the talent to jump ahead of the pack or in the race with them too. So
okay, well then
I'm excited for him. Let's just say that.
Yeah, and we'll keep monitoring it. And
it's not homerism though. It's literally not. Like, yeah, Tyler's a huge Green Bay fan, and I'm a Green Bay fan, but this isn't. We're not just hyping him up because he's a Green Bay Packer. Like, this guy is legit. He's a guy to keep an eye on.
Yeah, and I mean, I think the only hype you've ever heard on this channel was any sort of tight end coming from Detroit. So.
Yeah, TJ.
All right, let's move over. We're gonna answer a few questions. We'll be pretty quick with this. We're going to hit each one, let you know what our thoughts are, and then as we get closer...
simple questions, Tyler, but they're also pretty simple answers, you know what I mean? Like, it's the way to go. And they're questions that are asked a lot.
And if you wanted to break them down further, you could easily do that, because people, this is their initial question, and then underneath it, you could have like 3 or 4 sub-questions that belong in the same situation. So I think that as we get closer to the season, we can take any questions you have. If you want to leave in the comments, let us know. Send us an email. I'll make sure that our email is in our notes below. But we're going to touch on these in future episodes. We'll break them down further. But right now, we just want to let you know our thoughts on it. Just first question. Let's go with what scoring system should be used?
This question comes up far too often, and I don't think it should. So, I mean, I guess the only part I can see is PPR or half-point PPR. There should be very few standard leagues running around nowadays. Like, it should be your dad and his friends. Like, you know what I mean? Like, those are the guys that are going to be running these standard leagues, in my opinion. I don't want to offend anybody, but it's just it seems too boring for me to do.
And you need to think of it too, like how the NFL changes. I mean, you think 10, 20 years ago, sure, run dominant standards seemed very relevant.
It made sense. It made more sense.
And then as the NFL has turned into, I mean, you look at
pass happy league.
Yes, exactly. You look at the passes. Fantasy football also needs to kind of trend in the same direction the NFL does, and then that keeps it fresh. Half point. We're in full point PPR in pretty much all of our leagues, and then I've only done half
point's not terrible, Tyler. Like, I've never done it. Actually, I have. I played Yahoo last year, and that's their standard scoring now is half-point PPR. They finally switched. They're standard with no other option.
And I think FanDuel, either FanDuel or DraftKings. I think FanDuel was the half-point PPR, and then
FanDuel was standard. They switched as well last year to half-point.
Yeah, because that's last year when I was playing it was half-point. And I mean, you take it the same as full point, and you're just marking down any targets that wide receivers, running backs get. It only just bumps them up just a little bit further. Half point, and then full point, it bumps them up, of course, double. So that is our answer. I'm big on the full point PPR. We've had a ton of fun playing it that way for years on years. And as we go into this Dynasty League, we're also implementing it there. So if you have any questions on that, I mean, Ryan, you've done, not to stay on the same question, but you've done some crazy leagues with touchdown only.
I'm still in a touchdown only league, and like I said, the only reason as much as I want to leave it because it's a crapshoot, because you literally have to get a touchdown to score. That's it. Touchdown and field goals. I missed the playoffs twice in 11 years, but I've never won the Super Bowl. So it's a challenge, but it's also like it presents the most luck in any league.
Yeah, it just shows
that's
that
the problem with it.
There's all sorts of walks of life when it comes to settings for scoring, and it's finding your sweet spot. You look at the group of guys you have, and for us, PPR and half point PPR would be the go-to. And I think that's where pretty much all leagues should eventually go to. If you're having fun with your league and everyone is loving it, I mean, it doesn't hurt to stay that way. But if you wanted to
bring it up,
though,
bring it up at the end of the year and get votes on it. Maybe I got a little backstory for the touchdown only league though. So it's one of my somebody from high school. His dad runs the league, so he's had this league running since he said the early 90s. This is before there was computer fantasy football. They literally wrote down, they had to check the newspaper for the stats, and that's why they kept it simple and just did touchdown only, and they literally have not changed the rules. They kept it the same. So it's just pretty cool that these guys were doing fantasy football back in the early 90s before it was a huge thing, and they had to check the papers and calculate their scores for that week.
That's insane, but I mean that's the only way you could do it. So all right, then moving on to our next one. Something that we recently had switched to, Ryan's played in some leagues, the FAB system, the FAAB system versus the waiver priority system. And then also we're going to add in there the open free agency. And our league... Open free agency, if you want your league wild and free, that's what you do. Like, it's just... Some people it might be too much, and some people it is too much. Like, there is no waivers. You can add and drop players when you want, except on Sundays, like during the games and stuff. It won't let you. But yeah, it's open. It's first come, first serve. So, and I feel like that's how it kind of should be, though, in my opinion. Like, if you have a bunch of people that are just on top of their game,
that's the thing. It's the guy who's on top of it, who's doing the research, who's watching football, watching these guys play.
Yeah,
those are the guys that you should get first dibs on them.
Yeah, and I think for the open, it's more of a expert / everyone's involved, and going to like a FAB system where it's free agent.
That's the best way to go.
Budget is what it's that's the acronym. So free agent acquisition budget system. The FAB system is giving yourself. Everyone kind of has different numbers, but the average is 100 to 150 FAB dollars.
And when you said everyone has different numbers, the league has the same, though. But different leagues kind of have different numbers on what they get, but every guy gets that. Yes. And you could also throw something in like the highest score of that week gets 5 FAB thrown on. Like, you can do that as a curveball to throw it, make it more interesting. But I would suggest keep it at 100. Everyone gets 100. Play with it like that. See how your league mates like it at the end of the year. You have to budget yourself. So after week 1, you don't want to drop 70 of your 100, and then you got $30 for the rest of the year. It's not real money. Like, it's not real money. It's just the budget used inside.
It's monopoly money.
The platform. Yeah, monopoly money.
And so you look at the FAB system against the waiver system, and I think it's the same way we talk about PPR versus standard. Standard and waiver system priority was kind of more of the old school way, and as these new different systems come about, the FAB system's slowly taking over that waiver priority. I know waivers.
That was a perfect way to explain it, Tyler. Throw that out there. That's a good.
In waivers, the person in last place or whoever has kept their waiver gets to go first for that player. I like the FAB system because you really don't know who's going to actually pay for this guy. And you could, if you wanted him, put
whoever's willing to spend the most, man.
Exactly. So it's actually a risk reward when it comes to FAB system. And you're spending the money early, you don't have it later if something else happens. So, and always...
With the FAB system, though... Yeah, go ahead. You first.
I was just going to say, I want to let everyone know who uses the FAB system. Always turn on that you can pick people up for $0, because I think it's very silly to have $1 transaction only as like the minimum. You should be able to pick people up for free. So just as a shout out to anyone who is doing $1 and up, just do the free, because... some players you run out of FAB, all of a sudden you're POS, you're out of luck. So
Tyler, that's what I was gonna say. So you hit on it, which is cool. Yeah. So like, you can still put in a claim for $0 on a guy. Yeah. If no one else claims that guy, you get him for $0.
But the guy that puts $1 on top of you
will win it. Obviously, he'll beat you out. So, but you can try to be sneaky and a guy that's not huge on the, a sneaky guy that you got in your plans for next week. Like, oh, maybe this is his chance. Pick him up the week before for free. So then next week you don't got to spend your 90% of your budget on him. Like that's the strategy you want to do.
All right, well then let's transition that into let's say you make it to the playoffs, and what rules should you have as you're in the playoffs? How many teams? Who gets in? Who doesn't? And how many weeks? What week are we going to in the playoffs?
So that's the main focus. I feel like teams, that's up to the league. If you want 8 of your 12 in, do it. If you want 6 of your 12 in, do it. If you want 4, that's fine. It's whatever. Like you can do whatever on that. But always play week 6 or week 14 to 16. It starts week 14, week 16 it ends. That's Super Bowl weekend. Because week 17, you don't even know what's going on in week 17. You got guys sitting, you got your studs playing one quarter and resting. Like you can't predict that, and it just becomes in other words, it becomes a shit show. And honestly, it becomes kind of lucky. And that's what the touchdown only league does do. And the year that I made the Super Bowl and lost, my quarterback Andrew Luck played half of a quarter and he was done, and that it affected me. So I've been asking for years to have the season end on week 16, and they will not change anything in that league. So that's just how it is. But never have the Super Bowl on week 17.
And even if you think about it, week 16 is even kind of sketchy. You get the week 16, and some teams have automatically made it. That's when they start clinching, is like 15, 16, and all of a sudden 16 also could be that same almost week 17 layup. But you kind of have to give and take. Just don't do week 17 for the playoffs, for the championship playoff game, because you're going to have a bad time. People are going to be frustrated, and it doesn't hurt to shoot it out to the commissioner, shoot it out to all the players. Let's switch it back to 14 to 16 and let week 17 just pass by for people to be sitting on the bench. So that is definitely
one more thing for playoff rules, Tyler. I wanted to hear your opinion on this one.
Yeah, shoot.
So a lot of leagues like to cut off the waiver wire or like the free agents on teams that are eliminated. You know what I mean? They're not in the top 6 playing for the championship. A lot of teams like to cut those guys out from making acquisitions, so to speak. I'm against that only because you want to promote everyone playing through the season. And 2, you don't want last place. So you still want to pick up the hot guy, like the hottest player for that week. You know what I'm saying? Like you want that stud to put on your team so you don't lose. Like everyone wants to win. You don't want to be last place. So I feel like keeping it open for every team in the league. Yeah, the top 6 teams that are in the playoffs will probably be frustrated if they miss out on that guy. But it promotes everyone to play through the season, and it also, you don't want to lose. You don't want to get last.
Yeah, and
I feel like keeping it open. What's your opinion on that?
What I was going to say is I think that leagues that kind of want to implement worse teams still picking up people, you have to make it worth something. Okay, a lot of leagues, I love how a lot of leagues, last place kind of has to do something silly, or you see a lot of leagues where they're embarrassing the last place guy. That just gives you all the fight in the world to not have to
get
be
that
embarrassed
top
like
claim.
That.
Yeah, man. So like our league, the loser of our league every year, they transfer it's a license plate cover, and it's in pink, and it says I suck. I finished last in my fantasy football league. So.
and if that's not motivation enough to go out and pick a Damian Williams up going into the playoffs, even though you have no shot or not even
though you're eliminated, yep.
Go for those points and make sure that you're not in last place. And I think also another thing for going through the playoffs, if you get knocked out, there should still be that maybe a little bit of a reward for still continuing and getting like 4th, 5th, 6th place. And you should be fighting for top 3, and then that'll allow for people who lose to still want to keep playing for something. Because I hate where someone loses and all of a sudden their team doesn't change, and it's kind of just like once you lose in the playoffs, you're tossing your team in the garbage. So it's kind of a way to make sure that they're going for that 3rd place spot. Or you could do like the most points in the playoffs, like a most points per game. They get like a certain amount of money. Kind of how you do a weekly in the league. You could do that in the playoffs, to where each playoff, if you have the most points in that playoff run, you get a certain amount of money. So it keeps people engaged, even if they're.
I'm in a league. It's $50 buy-in, and there's obviously the winners bracket and then the consolation bracket. The winner of the consolation bracket, so the teams that didn't make the playoffs, the winner of that bracket gets $10 towards next year. So you at least playing for something. And I think that's it's $10, but it's still $10 that you're fighting for. So pick up that Damian Williams, so you get a free $10 for next year.
Exactly, and those are just great rules to just reiterate to your commissioner, like we're saying.
It just promotes activity, Tyler. Like, that's the point. You want people to be active. You don't want, week 13, I'm done. I'm not checking it anymore. Like that.
Yeah. And let me tell you, there's people that just like talk to your league and say, hey, well, let's bump up $10, but that $10 goes to a separate pot that we pay out each week. You know, if everyone chips in a certain amount of money, I think that it would be a majority vote, yes, that you're possibly winning more money every week instead of just the championship second, third place person. So it's just an extra way to make money, and it keeps people engaged week in and week out. So I think that hits everything for that one. We can jump to our last question, and this is a hot topic button, especially for commissioners always finding themselves in the hot seat when it comes to what is okay when it comes to vetoing trades. How do we do it, Ryan? Let them know how we do it for vetoing trades and maybe how we might change it.
So we have it's basically like a quiet veto system. So you can't, all trades go through. So you can bring up a veto if you have evidence and you truly believe that there is two owners colluding and say giving him his players for garbage. Like obviously, seasoned veterans, you can kind of see that. So that's the only way, and we've had that happen 2 times in 10 years?
Yeah,
like the last 10 years that had to happen, and the 2 teams colluding were kicked out. So, I suggest no trade veto because this is horrible. People do this, and it's just terrible. So you got to trade. You're on the verge of making the playoffs. You're fighting for the playoffs. You see a veto button up there. You see your rival, the guy you're fighting for, is improving slightly, and you're like, "Oh, I don't want him to improve, so I'm gonna veto that trade." Like that's a bad mindset. Bullshit, man. I'm sorry. That's not how you play. And I know there's a lot of people that do that.
And
that's terrible.
Yeah, what I would say about vetoing trades when it's okay to have that is kind of when you're in a fun league and you're playing with, let's say we have some really great guys that are playing, and then you have some new guys, like half and half in a league. You might want to have that veto trade just to help teach these new guys. When you're getting into more competitive and it involves money, there really should not be a veto. People should know what they're doing, and if they hit the accept button, they're accepting that their team is possibly losing. And the only way to understand if it's collusion is if the whole league comes together and talks about it. And
if a majority of your league comes up and says they're colluding, they're colluding. Like that's just simple as that. If,
yeah,
you know
and the
commissioner, if 8 out of your 12 guys are saying that, then it's more than likely that's what's going on.
Yeah, and like we have for my family league, there's a lot of people in there. We don't even do a draft. We just do a randomize. Those are the perfect ones to have those veto trades because as a commissioner, and I think it's only for me, I made it just a commissioner only, just to have that oversight of, okay, this person probably doesn't know that they're trading away this guy to that guy. Then it's okay to have that veto trade because you have new guys in there and you're trying to teach them. But as soon as people start understanding the game, you got to take that away and let it just be free reins. People are going to make mistakes, but we've seen far too often where a trade goes through and everyone is so angry at one side.
Oh yeah, on the surface, and then all of a sudden, it looks horrible, but give it 3 weeks and it completely flipped around, which is crazy. But it happens actually more often than not.
Yeah, and then if it gets vetoed and then the person 3 weeks later is like, what the heck, guys? Look at the people I could have had making these points compared to, that guy got injured, or, all of a sudden they went away from that running back and I could have just totally helped my team out, and everyone vetoed it thinking I was ripping them off. So that's kind of our mindset when it comes to vetoing trades. We've done it before where it was commissioner
Another thing
only.
I want to touch on, Tyler, before I lose this one is like player skills are going to vary in every league. It's just like in every major sport. You have new GMs, you have veteran GMs. These GMs are literally trying to take advantage of the next. So that's exactly what happens in fantasy football. Like you're playing, you paid your $50 to get in, that's your team. You know, if you're not as smart as the next guy, that's honestly, it's on you.
Yeah. If you're joining into, one league like that where it's going to be a competitive league, then it is on you. You're 100%. There should be no one that has any sort of hands in the cookie jar when it comes to trades. If you see it go through and this guy supposedly got ripped off, I mean, it's just more target for who you go after for trades, for the better guys.
12 people in the league, Tyler, 12 different opinions. That's the thing.
Exactly. So, and you don't want people to be vetoing just to help themselves out in the league instead of actually having a fair thought on the trade. So that's where the big thing comes in, where they're trying to help their team and they're not even in the trade. And that's where it's kind of messed up. So that's why we get rid of them. And we just kind of let it go as is. If something seems like it's colluding, then we'll call it out. But besides that, close, maybe not that close, it's still have to let it go through. So is that good for that one, Ryan?
Yeah, I think that covers all the questions too.
All right. Well, we made Ryan in charge of this next mock draft, and well, I guess we'll have to see how it goes. Apparently, he figured out how to make the auto draft happen for the bots, so I'm glad that happened.
Hopefully it works.
Yeah, he'll click start, and then his computer will shut down. We're doing a mock draft again, but it's gonna be a little bit quicker, like we said. 12-team PPR, and Ryan's drafting from the 4, and I'm drafting from the 5. So we're gonna see some good running backs right away.
It was randomized. What were we last week? 6 and 8 around there.
Yeah. We had.
So obviously, this is new.
And then before that, we did a double where we were at 10. So
yep,
being more towards the beginning, and then hey, maybe in a few weeks we will even scoot ourselves closer to the front or closer to the back. So Ryan's on the clock, and like usual, we saw Saquon, Alvin, and Christian McCaffrey. Wow. So you had Zeke. Pretty much.
It went in correct order. I feel. I think it went in the right order.
Okay.
So Barkley, Kamara, McCaffrey. All right. Second. I'm gonna go with. I mean, this should be an easy pick here. It's between Zeke or David Johnson, and it's Zeke.
Oh man, and that puts me in a hard spot because I'm almost tempted to let the running backs roll, and I'm gonna draft DeAndre Hopkins.
Nah, it's a safe. I mean, it's not a bad pick. Honestly, that's safe.
I could have taken Melvin Gordon or David Johnson, but I want the first sure thing in a wide
receiver. You go with the for sure points right there, and I can't fault you for that.
I think Melvin Gordon's pretty for sure though, so I can't say that Melvin Gordon's not a top pickup. And so it went all the way around, and I had the choice between Damian Williams. My two thoughts were Damian Williams or Mike Evans. And I'm actually going to go with the wide receiver strat again. I think Mike Evans could be a top 5 wide receiver. And plus, I knew Ryan probably wanted to take him as his 1, so that helped me out.
Yeah, I would have went Evans there. Too early for me to go Keenan Allen here, so I'm going to go with Damian Williams.
Okay, I like it.
Ezekiel Elliott and Damian Williams. I am a wide receiver guy, and I have 2 running backs. That is because of my draft position. Keenan Allen, luckily, he fell to me right here, so it's a very easy decision for me. Wow, Elliott, Williams, and Keenan Allen.
Keenan Allen fell to you. That was.
And I feel like your draft decision here is very easy too.
You think so? You think it's?
I think so.
Okay, so I'm looking at Leonard Fournette, Devontae Freeman, and Marlon Mack as my running backs. Also, Kerryon Johnson's there, but I think it's kind of a stretch for him.
Too early.
My goodness, as much as I hate on Leonard Fournette,
you have to take him here, third round.
I have to take him in the
say
third
he
round.
Gets injured for the season, your third round pick's gone. At least it's not your first or second. You're fine.
Exactly.
So you started with Hopkins and Evans, and you paired him with the RB1 and Leonard Fournette. That's a really very good start.
He's going to be getting a lot of work this year too. So and okay, so I'm looking at for my next pick either Philip Lindsay or Brandon Cooks or Mark Ingram. He's there too. You want to know what? I'm just going to. Oh, man, I don't want to get in trouble, though, for running backs. It is a hard pick here. Oh, my goodness. You want to know what? Let's just take Brandon Cooks.
Oh, come on.
You want to know what? What did we just say? He's top 10 for the highest paid wide receiver, and I paired him up with Mike Evans and Hopkins.
I was going to take him there, so.
He's my boom. He's my boom player.
All right. We're going to gamble a little bit here. I'm going to take another running back, matter of fact. Philip Lindsay or Mark Ingram is the decision.
Okay, and then kind of other people you have on the board. Galladay, Kenyon Drake, Cooper Kupp. I mean, Sony Michel and Chris Carson are sitting lower, too.
They are, but I got Keenan Allen holding down the wide receiver 1, and I got another receiver for the next round, so I'm going to go with Philip Lindsay.
Okay.
I like what he can do over there. He can do everything. So my running backs are pretty good to go here. Tyler Lockett would be a good pick here, but Jarvis Landry I had my eye on.
Yeah, you've been big on Jarvis Landry.
And Jarvis Landry right here. Teaming them up with Ezekiel Elliott, Damian Williams, and Phillip Lindsay seems like a pretty safe bet.
Okay, and then it made it to me. I have 3 wide receivers, 1 running back. I'm seeing Kenyon Drake on top, Lockett, Rodgers, Godwin, and James White, and Tariq Cohen.
Like, what are you thinking here? I think it's Drake, White, or Cohen.
Yeah, that's what I was looking at. Or I mix it up and I go Aaron Rodgers in the 5th round. And
I try not to touch Aaron Rodgers ever, just because he'll never be there when I pick anyway.
Yeah. Okay, let's. I'm just gonna take the chance and I'll just pick Kenyon Drake.
That's a good pick. I think he could be pretty damn good.
He's got a higher upside in the 5th round if for some
your
reason
receivers can hold you down, like hold your team up.
Yeah, and as it comes back to me, I'm hoping that maybe like. Looking at running backs here,
would have been a good pick for you, but he went.
Yeah, and then Darrell Henderson just went before me.
Yep.
James White, Tariq Cohen. I'm looking at probably Tevin Coleman here as a possible starter in San Francisco, or just going into the Shanahan system. I'm gonna take Tevin Coleman.
It's a good pick. Now your boy is Tyler Boyd, and I try to stay away from that guy. I'm going to go with nothing too flashy, but steady Freddie Alshon Jeffrey.
My
wide receiver
Jeffrey.
3.
Woo! I don't know if I could touch Alshon Jeffrey. It would be hard for me to draft him. I'd be sweating looking at his name like, oh, my God, no.
For sure. Now, here's my decision. It's Rashad Penny or it is Allen Robinson.
What are you thinking about? So you have Penny
or Robinson. So I got Elliott, Williams, and Lindsay, and then my receivers are Keenan Allen, Jarvis Landry, Alshon Jeffrey. I think I'm going to take Allen Robinson. So my choice of flex right now is Robinson or Phillip Lindsay, and it's going to be Lindsay, but at least I have an options there.
Okay, so then I'm looking at so Lamar Miller, Rashad Penny is up there, and Latavius Murray. I'm thinking that I'm probably going to pick Penny here. My thought is on Penny just because I have the option to keep him on the bench and see what I have with him. And as I look further down in running back, I don't really know of anyone else that holds that, except for maybe like a Jerick McKinnon when he comes up a lot later. Jalen Samuels is interesting way down low. But there's also wide receivers down there that I definitely want to pick up. So I'm going to take the chance on Rashad Penny here. And I'm going to draft him.
That's a good pick.
Keep him kind of marinating on my bench.
Yep. It's not, I mean, if he falters, it's whatever. If he explodes, you got trade bait or another guy you can start.
Exactly. So then now we're looking at more running backs here. So we got Jordan Howard. Of course, I'm not touching him.
Take your boy Ronald Jones.
Yeah. He was the hype man last year, hey?
Yeah, he was.
Oh, my goodness. Miles Sanders. It's kind of weird to have so many running backs that are drafted like round 8 and up that are on the same team. I mean, that's like 3. So I'm going to stay away from Philly, and I'm going to probably draft Royce Freeman here just because I think I'm going to pick the right guy over Ryan's.
I'm so glad that you passed Miles Sanders because I think he's going to take over that backfield.
You think so?
I just feel like he has way more upside than Royce Freeman just because Royce Freeman depends on touchdowns. Miles Sanders can kind of do it all. As long as he can stay healthy, that's his problem through camp right now. He's battling injuries already, which is scary. Plus, he does have Jordan Howard, fighting with him, and he's going to take some touchdowns away probably. This pick right here, I wanted Kyler Murray, but he went 1 pick before me.
I was looking at him too.
We're going to chill out on that. We're going to take...
Ryan can take the old man and LaShawn McCoy or the old man.
I just feel like there's a lot of wide receiver value later on, so I should be looking at running back right here.
Okay.
Jerick McKinnon or Jalen Samuels would be my pick. I just don't know which one yet.
Okay. You're thinking.
I think I'm going to go Jerick McKinnon because I think he has more upside than Jalen Samuels.
Oh, I wanted McKinnon so bad too.
I just feel like if Coleman does go down, McKinnon is legit. Like he's an RB1.
Yeah, and they drafted him, paid him money.
Pending recovery, obviously.
Yeah.
I mean, they signed this guy to $7 million a year.
Okay, so I'm going to probably go wide receiver here. I have not picked up my...
Old steady.
I'm looking at Corey Davis or Cortland Sutton as this pick, and I probably could wait even a little bit further and draft somebody else here, because when it comes back to me, I have a feeling that Cortland Sutton will still be there.
You should have Njoku right now, man. That's your pick.
Njoku, tight end?
You don't think so?
I don't think so.
Round 9 at the 9.5? I don't know. I think it's good value.
I mean, I'll take Njoku just to see
how
I was going
to do it, but I had Landry, and I don't want the whole Browns offense. I mean, Odell obviously, but it's just too much for me.
And I remember Njoku as kind of being the hyped up guy for last year.
He had a lot of single coverage with all them weapons, dude. So I mean, he could be solid.
It's true.
We got him in the 9th round.
And then in the 10th round, I just picked up Cortland Sutton. He did drop to me, so I'm
took my
very
guy.
glad about that. So,
all right, what do we got for receivers? I see there is. I'll be able to get a receiver either way, so I'm going to lock up my tight end, my boy.
Oh,
TJ
man, you're gonna pick him? Yep. Whew. I guess he was coming up. We're in round 10 already. It's cruising along.
I wanted Kiki QT, but he went, so that's going to leave me with...
What's your thoughts on Emmanuel Sanders?
That's literally, it's between... I want him right here. So my thoughts on Emmanuel Sanders is, why not? He's my wide receiver 5. This guy, when he plays, he produces. He's got a seasoned veteran quarterback there, Joe Flacco. I feel like he's going to lean on him.
Okay.
As long as Emmanuel Sanders is healthy, PPR guy, he should be playing out of the slot.
And I'm taking the boomer bust Deshaun Jackson. I think that. I think he's going to be kind of like the slowed down version of Emmanuel Sanders, but he still has his role. And you just think about how good he was at a few years back, and then also he was decent last year. I remember making a trade for him, and then I traded him right after.
Sanders was a wide receiver 1 for a multi-week stretch.
Yeah. So
he was the number 1 overall receiver early in the year for a few weeks in a row, like points-wise. Like overall points up, I think, like through week 5. He was the number 1 receiver.
Okay, that's what I was remembering, because I was thinking, I remember where he was doing really well, and that was with Thomas being injured. So.
Yep. So now at this point, I really, really wanted Alexander Madison to fall. I feel like but he got drafted a little bit before me.
Yeah.
But his opportunity, and this guy should be drafted in every single league. He could possibly be a steal, a league winner type of player.
Yeah.
If Cook goes down, it's Madison's job. There's nobody else there, and he could be a huge difference maker. It's a guy like, maybe you draft him and nothing comes of it, like Dalvin Cook stays healthy all year, whatever. But to take someone in the double-digit rounds that could literally change the landscape of your team, it's definitely worth it.
And like we've talked to people before, a lot of people like to not put injuries in their rankings and kind of their projections. But for us, I feel like for me personally, I'm going to keep injuries in the back of my mind and also let that be used in projections. Because just like Ryan was saying, Dalvin Cook, I don't think I would have to look it up. I don't know if he's played a full 16 games. And having his backup, I mean, you think about Latavius Murray. He came in and he was actually an asset for a running back.
He was
in fantasy football. And people are actually trading for Murray in the season just to get that backup fantasy numbers. He's a running back 2. And Alexander Madison is probably a step up from Murray. So
for sure.
If he goes in, he can
do everything.
He could be special. And then don't get it wrong about like Leonard Fournette. You have to be on kind of a decent team as a backup when you come in to produce. So that's one person I would look at, and then I'd kind of keep in the back of my mind like a Leonard Fournette backup. You know that it's possible he could get injured, but would it be worth it to even pick him up? So kind of what we think about. So I'm looking at, all right, how many people do I have? I have
Dang, they gave you Minnesota, Mr. Talk a Lot.
Oh,
what's funny is they auto-drafted Josh Allen for me, and that's who I was going to pick. And my next pick after that was Dante Moncrief. So,
man, see, that's what we're talking about. Dante Moncrief from the 13th? Oh, my God.
You want me to – I can change your player in here.
Oh, that's okay.
If there's somebody that you want, I can edit that just so we understand where we're at.
You can just keep it. We're getting
All right.
pretty far down.
For sure. Yeah, I got Moncrief in round 13. That's an absolute steal. It's not going to happen.
So you got Malcolm
he was
Brown.
there, so I had to take him.
We got Matt Breida, Rex Burkhead. I mean, Kalen Ballage could be something. I'm going to pick up.
Could be. Ballage is not bad. Plus, you have Drake, don't you?
I know. That's what I'm saying. Is I have Drake
right here. I think it's a must, Tyler.
You think so?
Yeah, for sure, dude. Okay, now on me. So I have Josh Allen. I mean, kind of scary, major upside. I'm going to pair him with another scary, major upside quarterback, Lamar Jackson, and I hope that one of the two hit. That is my strategy for this year in all redraft leagues. I'm going to take 2 quarterbacks later in the together or later in the draft. Yeah, it's one of these guys has to hit. If not, guess what? I'm on the market. I'm either trading for someone's backup or I'm playing quarterbacks week to week.
Or you're just going to go and pick up Nick Foles off the free agency.
Exactly. Like there's always something
Derek
there.
Carr off free agency. You know what I mean? There's plenty.
All right. Now this kind of pick. I got one more pick to make.
Yeah, you got. Oh yeah, you have one and then defense kicker.
I'll wait. You know what? I was gonna go off. I'm gonna go with. I
kind of like Quincy Enunwa. Quincy Enunwa at this position.
I'm taking Jimmy Graham, so I got Hawkinson early, and if he fails, Jimmy Graham could be a steady Freddy.
Okay, and it's on me, but it won't let me pick for some reason. Can you click and pick me? Just pick me Quincy Enunwa. I'll take Quincy Enunwa and see what I have with a Jets wide receiver.
Okay.
But you'll have to pick him for me, Ryan.
Yeah, that's weird that it did that. Yeah, it's like spinning the wheel. So Sleeper might be down, huh?
Oh, he said all teams complete, waiting for commish to end the draft. So it must have. I
wonder if there's
competing. Okay, there it goes.
Yeah, I saw that too.
Okay, so I picked up Quincy.
And that'd be that, and then it's kicker and defense. But so what?
So looking at my team, I'm missing a kicker, and I have one more skill position I can grab. So let's just make this one quick, and I'll just pick me like Rex Burkhead. I'll take Rex Burkhead.
Okay. Yeah,
so Chris
we're
Thompson.
Good right now. Yeah. So let's check the.
And then kicker. So
kicker and defense don't matter. So what's your team?
Okay, looking at my team from the fifth pick in the draft, I'm starting off with my quarterback. I picked him up in the 12th round, Dak Prescott. We're going for wide receivers next. I got DeAndre Hopkins, Mike Evans, Brandon Cooks, and then on my bench I got Cortland Sutton and Deshaun Jackson, and then also Quincy Enunwa late in the draft. Going to running back, I got Leonard Fournette as my one. I got Kenyon Drake and Tevin Coleman, Rashad Penny, Royce Freeman, and then Kalen Ballage.
I actually like your wide receiver and running backs all combined all together. It's pretty good.
Yeah, it worked out. And what I did is I went with 2 wide receivers, 1 running back, 1 wide receiver, and then I went 4 running backs. So I kind of got my wide receiver core and then just plowed in a bunch of hopefully upside running backs. Kind of the same thing you did last year, right?
No, for sure. I like the strategy. So my team is looking like quarterback, Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson, whatever one you want to do. Ezekiel Elliott, Damian Williams, Keenan Allen, Jarvis Landry, Alshon Jeffrey at receiver, and my flex will be Phillip Lindsay. Very solid flex. I like that. Allen Robinson, first receiver off the bench. I got Miles Sanders, Jerick McKinnon. Hawkinson is my starting tight end with Jimmy Graham. He's old school, but he's there for protection. And then I got Dante Moncrief on the bench as well, so pretty deep.
Okay, and each of these mock drafts we do, I'm liking our teams. I'm liking how they turn out. And, I mean, looking at the average draft position, you're looking not really much is crazy in terms of you've seen what these computers are doing. I mean, Patrick Mahomes going at the end of the 3rd, I think is pretty generous for what you're going to see in your normal redrafts.
I think he'll be going in the 2nd probably in a lot of leagues.
And Travis Kelce and Ertz, I mean, they're in the 2nd and 3rd. You expect that. I think George Kittle, I think I would push him down to like the 4th or 5th for a normal draft. And quarterbacks after Patrick Mahomes, I don't think you see a quarterback until like round 6 on a normal league. when people.
I got something to throw out there. This is way off topic, but my little daughter, she's 2 years old. She just came in my room. She was in here for the last 3 minutes playing around. She was pretty damn quiet, so I respect that. She just ended up leaving the room. So if there's
I didn't hear it
background, if there's anything in the background, it's her playing with toys. And I was like, wow, she was doing pretty good. I think she knew, like she knows I'm doing this podcast. So I guess she's pretty smart. She was really, really quiet. She was tiptoeing and everything. So it was pretty
stealthy.
Cool. Yeah, it was interesting to watch. I had my eyes on her the whole time. Like, what is she doing?
yeah. Just keep it quiet.
Like, what are you gonna do? Don't drop it. Don't drop it.
Don't say anything crazy.
Exactly. But yeah.
All right. Well, I think that'll do it then. We kind of listed our teams, did our mock draft. That was in the 4th and 5th position.
This is another draft, Tyler. I'm taking either of our teams on this one. I think I would be happy, especially in a 12-man league, with either one of these teams.
Yeah, and looking at you got Keenan Allen in the 3rd. I think that was an excellent drop because I wouldn't have been happy with anyone besides probably Keenan.
Oh man, if I had to go,
Keenan was the only one.
Stephon Diggs as my one. So after Stephon Diggs, the next receiver was Tyreek Hill, ? Robert Woods, nothing flashy. Julian Edelman, he's on the verge of wide receiver 1. So Keenan Allen following me there was huge. It just helped my draft big time.
All right, well, that'll do it for this episode. Make sure that you go ahead and if you're listening on iTunes, you're listening on Spotify, Google Play, go to our YouTube channel and hit subscribe. You always can listen to our videos on YouTube. Just go in there, leave us a comment, leave us a rating. If you're new to listening, it's going to help us out a lot because, like we said, we're kind of just starting up and we're looking for new people. If you're listening, to let us know that you're listening. We don't really see much when it comes to plays except for on YouTube. And if you're on iTunes or anything else, just go in there. We definitely would love a comment and a rating. Be honest.
Just a simple comment goes a long way, honestly.
It does. And so just to end it off, so this weekend, Ryan, we were doing some wedding planning. I know I have a wedding coming up in October, and Ryan's the best man. We have a dessert picked out, and everyone's so used to their dessert tables and stuff like that. Guess what we're doing? We're doing fresh donuts. What do you?
Nice.
Oh my god!
That's so simple and awesome, man.
We're throwing a curveball. We're throwing a bunch of donuts on a wall. Dude, we're pretty hyped about it. So, all right, that'll do it for the MVP Fantasy Podcast. I appreciate everyone listening, and make sure to just go hit that like button, comment, and subscribe. Appreciate it, and have a great rest of your week.